Good morning, it's Ty from Lambda School, and today I'll be going over the coding challenge review, Parallel. So implement the function parallel. Parallel has two parameters, an array of asynchronous functions, tasks, and a callback. Each of the tasks takes a callback and invokes that callback when complete. The callback pass to the parallel callback pass to parallel is then performed on the results of the callbacks of the tasks. The order of these results should be in the same order of the tasks. It's important to note that this is not the order in which the tasks return, but the order in which they are passed to parallel. Once all the callbacks of the tasks are returned, parallel should invoke the callback on the results array. All right, cool. So on this message, how did you guys feel about this coding challenge? Checks are solid, X if you didn't complete it or if you have questions. What's that? A shrug. All right. Cool. I'm getting a lot of response from the CS class. I'm waiting to hear something from the full-time class. All right, cool. So this one was not easy. Willing to admit that. Also willing to admit the fact that when I first had this, I couldn't complete it either. So let's think about it for a minute. You have an array of callback functions, right? And inside the array, they are also functions, and these functions also takes a callback and invokes that callback when complete. So you've got array, function, and that function takes a function. And they also have set timeout functions. So more importantly, when you pass it in, you want to make sure that 1 gets in the 0th index of the array and 2 gets in the first index of the array. So the first item is 1 and the second item is 2. Cool. All right, so let's go ahead and define it. We saw up there that said const parallel takes in 2 parameters. 1 is going to be an array of functions, and 2 is going to be a callback. All right, so there's usually more than one way to skin a cat, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new array, and then I'm going to measure the length of the functions, and I'm going to do a for each of the function. Excuse me. So array functions, I'm going to create a new array. So create a new array. Then I'm going to get the length of functions array. And then from there, I will run a for loop through the functions, and each of the for loop functions will get a function. So, all right. So use for each arrow function params function itself, and then I, and then invoke each function inside the array, and we're gonna pass, or we're gonna give it with arrow function because they all take callbacks with params, singular param value. So what we're doing is for each, we're going to take the value and set it to I up here. We can use this I to keep track of the indices in the array. So if this is equal to 0, no matter if it comes first or second, we can still directly assign it a value to the 0th item in the index or the first item in the index. All right, let's move that down here. All right. And then what I'm doing with this is I'm ever checking if this, so we're going to subtract each time, sort of using the for loop with some while functionality. And then when this drops to 0, we can call the callback on that entirely. Cool. So subtract 1 from functions array length if functions array length is equal to 0, callback on new array. And you'll notice I never considered using any return because that's what the callback function will do for us. All right, so cool. Who can follow? So how do y'all feel about my train of thought? Check if you're following, X if you have a question. Or maybe you don't even know what your question is, but you got lost. You can also click the X for that. Okay. A little confused on the 2 parameters part. All right, no worries. Cool. So parallel has 2 parameters. We were given that up front, right? So in this example, okay, yeah, Lois, why don't we do this? I'm gonna code it out after I finish explaining the 2 parameters part. And then if you still have questions, we can either run it through the visualizer or just go through it line by line. Solid. All right, cool. So this is here. Actually, let's look down here. So this array goes all the way down here. So that's one item. So we can do this as well. Const para array is equal to this array. And then we will cut this, semicolon, const callback function is equal to that. Does that make sense, Jason? So parallel does take in 2 parameters. It's just when we have it pasted like that as previous, this is the first parameter, that entire array. And then this function is the second. All right, cool. Cool. All right. So let's get cracking. Const values is equal to empty array. No, we're going to have to use let because we're going to be subtracting. Let remaining items equal functions dot length And then functions dot for each. And we're going to pass that. We call that func, yeah? Function and then I. And that takes an arrow function. All right, cool. So right now we are inside the array. We are looking at this particular one and then this particular one, right? No questions? Perfect. All right, cool. So now we're here, and this function does take a callback. So we're going to pass it a callback function. And then, yeah, okay. And inside this callback, we're going to give it a value. And the value is gotten from function. Yeah, the value is gotten from function. And so now in here, what we can do is, since we have that array, we can specifically say, all right, in this slot, this value goes here. In this slot, this value goes here. So we can do values bracket I is equal to value. And then remaining items minus minus. And then when the case is that remaining items is equal to 0, we'll do the callback on values, which is the new array. All right. So click that, click that. And then if this all works out, we should be able to click run and get 1 and 2. 1 and 2. All right, cool. Anyone lost? Green check if you are lost, X if you are not lost. Green check if you are lost. Hang on, sorry, on this message down here. Check if you are lost, green X, sorry, red X if you are not lost, check if you are lost. All right, we got a breading. What is remaining items doing? Yeah, it's decrementing it by 1 so that when the entire array is gone through, we can run callback on values. Although, let's see if we can't do this. So this, I admit, is my old code. So let's see, the for each goes here. Clear and run. Ah, okay, cool. So I do need that because otherwise we are waiting for this to finish in here. And once this is finished, or once the values I equals values finished, then remaining item can drop to 0. And once remaining item drops to 0, that means that all the other values have passed. And then you can call callback value on your finished array of information. Can we turn those green checks into questions by any chance? Or maybe we should run it through the visualizer. I don't think the visualizer actually plays nice with set timeout. Yeah, error set timeout is not supported by Python tutor. Does anyone have any part of the code they want to pick at, maybe? Like maybe where they get lost? Hmm. And I don't mind incomplete thoughts, because if you can give me something like maybe what you're lost on or anything, we can go from there. But I'm not a mind reader. So you have to pass something to each function so they're called before you place what's called in position. It's supposed to be so that you can call back on the entire array. All right, so yes. So this function takes a callback function, right? So let's split that out. Let's do that, and that. So let's do fun, and then value. Uh, does that make sense? So in essence, you could also break this out so that you could do const fun called that, and then you have to call callback fun to get the console log to run. Hmm. Julian, does that make it more clear? So these functions require a callback function, because here it takes the callback and then does the callback of the answer after the set timeout. All right. Let's see here. Give me a second. So, to be fair, this is not an easy thing to grasp, right? This is something that I actually, let's see, I didn't solve it when he assigned it to me with the hour I'd been given. I think I solved it like 3 or 4 weeks later when I had free time to go over my code and actually take a look at it again. So don't be stressed out that you don't have this right now. You can always come back and look at this later. All right, I'm actually going to stop the recording here.